Hello everybody, we are live, Lazio Lounge after Lazio-Inter. I'm Vittorio Campanile, with me Alistair McKenzie. Alistair, I really don't have no words. Can you help me please?
Well, yeah, I don't have many either, which is a shame given that we're doing a podcast. But, yeah, it's not a night we're going to want to remember. It's a really sad end to what's otherwise been pretty positive season, and it's what we were really dreading. Was what happened tonight.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to finish it, to make the last match decisive, because, in Lazio history, all the time something weird happened in the match that decides everything. And today was no surprise for me. I thought the referee again was terrible. And again, as usual, it's always terrible one side, always helping the other team and never Lazio. And this happened again today in a very, very important match. This is simply not acceptable. I'm not talking about the penalty of Icardi. That was always a penalty. But the first goal of Inter, it's at least doubtful. Why didn't he go and check it with the VAR? He gave a penalty at the beginning of second half that was never even close a penalty. Vecino had to be sent off. There was so many yellow cards to give to Inter, nothing. Lazio had so many players already booked that it was obvious that Lazio would never finish the match 11 men. The red card of Lulic doesn't surprise me at all. I was only waiting to see who was going to be sent off. And this is always like this, always like this. To this, then we have to add all the mistakes Lazio player made. But when you arrive to a key match with Immobile not fit, Parolo, Luis Alberto out, you're going to struggle, And then, you had those terrible mistakes. I thought Strakosha cost us the Champions League spot tonight.
You think Strakosha did?
Yeah, the goal, the penalty of Inter comes from a mistake of Strakosha, who doesn't come out and grab the ball. Instead, kicks it away, and Inter immediately recover the ball, and then De Vrij makes a penalty.
Yeah, but there's one mistake of 3 goals, It's hard to say it's one player.
Well,
I think it's a combination of everything. I think the problem is deeply rooted within the squad. Tonight, for me, was exactly the same situation as what happened against Salzburg. It's basically when things go against us, this team doesn't have the mentality to be able to cope with it. And it was within 3 minutes that we threw everything away again. Against Salzburg, we somehow managed to concede 3 goals in 4 minutes. Tonight, we managed to concede a goal and have our captain sent off in about 3 minutes. And that's the problem. Is like, if that's a leadership character in the squad, Senad Lulic, it was a yellow card. I know what you mean, Vittorio, as in the referee wasn't good today. And I said in the first half that he was way too quick bringing out yellow cards. And his first yellow card was never a yellow card, but his second one was. And he knew he was on a yellow card. So it's a crazy challenge to make when he knows the way the referee's officiating the game, when he knows he's already on the yellow card. It's a crazy, crazy tackle for Lulic to make. And he has a lot of responsibility. He has a lot to answer to today.
Yeah, I agree, but Miranda makes a terrible foul on Murja in the first half. That's red card. Nothing. Never. I don't accept. Okay, if you have to be severe, you have to be severe with all the teams. It's not possible that you don't do it with Inter, That's simply, in an important match like that, is simply not acceptable. And then you give 5 minutes of injury time, you whistle 10 seconds before. Again, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I mean, it's not all Rocky's fault. As I said, Strakosha made a terrible mistake. Lulic could have been careful. But again, if Rocky does the same thing on the other side, probably it's another match and it's another result.
The team has to react to the way the referee is playing the game. I mean, how many times this season have we been in a situation where we're up against a bad referee? It's not an excuse anymore. I'm sorry, it's the last game of the season. All season long we've been able to complain about various refereeing decisions. I'm not going to blame the referee for losing this game tonight, because when it comes down to it, we were 2-1 up at half-time. We were playing very well, complete control of the match, and we've managed to throw it all away because the team has mentally collapsed. And then you've got strange decisions happening at the end, and we've gone back to the classic situation of throwing on Nani and hoping for the best in a weird formation that nobody understands when we need a goal. it's the same old problems. I'm afraid. Like, I'm not blaming the referee for this because I think it's just a repetition of the same issues that we've seen all season.
Yeah, I still blame the referee. I understand what you're saying, but and we said this already. Immobile, there's no substitution for Ciro Immobile, and Caicedo has been awful last Sunday. So desperate as you are, you bring in Nani, but starting from the referee, then there are other mistakes. Obviously, I already said Strakosha. I didn't like that much Radu. But, and then Inzaghi making this strange decision. Why taking off Immobile and putting Lukaku? You give Inter midfield. Inter wasn't concerned anymore because we didn't have a striker there. But again, you arrive to the final match. You shouldn't be arriving here with a decisive match. But we already said that it was all due to Crotone where Inzaghi made mistakes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the most frustrating thing about this is that we've had the opportunity. It didn't need to come down to a final game as it was, and even so, it was a perfect situation to be in because we were in a position where we could draw the game as well as winning the game to get through. We had a sellout Liverpool. I mean, this never happens. It's so rare for us to be in a situation where we have that big and vociferous a crowd to support us. And it's been a problem with Lazio all season is not being able to take advantage of home advantage. And tonight, I thought that crowd being behind us was gonna make a difference, but it's such a shame that it hasn't. It's just sadly, I think the game has kind of summed up all the problems we've seen this season. And look, I do want to be positive about everything that we've achieved, and we'll get to that point. But I think at this moment in time, it's very bitter and it's very raw because we're recording this straight after the game, and as a result of that, it's quite hard to reflect on the positivity because it's so clear that the same old problems are there. The mental collapses, the defensive issues, and some strange tactical decisions, and the inability to actually get results at home.
By the way, now you should be able to listen Alistair better, and I didn't mute him because I don't agree with his decision. Just to make it clear, it's not that.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody say that, right? Oh, sorry, I mute you again. I mean, the reason why I didn't want to make this match decisive is because, in the last three matches against Inter, at the end of the season, every time something strange happened, and this was no exception. I thought Lazio played very well in the first half. In the second half, I thought Inter was completely a disaster before that mistake of Strakosha. But again, the penalty that Rocky gave Inter shake things. I mean, Lazio certainly felt, worried, and I thought that was never a penalty, never even close a penalty. And Rocky gave it, and he was outside the box, 11 meters far away, and had no doubts and gave the penalty. And then finally Ratti had to call me and said, look, you're making a terrible mistake. I think that's very important because you suddenly realize, hey, I have to consider even the referee. Then apart from that, we have to talk about all the other mistakes. I thought Murcia played well, which was a nice thing compared to the past. But we made so many mistakes. Felipe Henderson, it's a player that I will never choose in a final. And today he scored a goal, but he was on and off continuously. In the second half, he was pretty much off all the rest 45 minutes. I don't know if you agree on that.
Yeah, Felipe Anderson was great. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic had another good game. 45 minutes into this, everything was going swimmingly. I mean, honestly, if anything, we should have had a more comfortable lead than we did. We'd seen Milinkovic-Savic hit the post. And, it's just... The goals we conceded are the big problem. That's the big issue again, is how easy it is to score goals against this Lazio team, and that's why it's never been comfortable all season long. It's the same old problems, and that's going to have to be the biggest thing for Inzaghi to address over the summer. that was De Vrij's last game for us. It's a massive shame that he gave away the penalty. I don't hold him. I honestly, I'm not going to pile on into him, criticising him for giving away the penalty. I think it was rash, but I don't think in any way that it was intentional. And he's been a brilliant servant to Lazio for the last 4 years, and he's been our best defender that entire time as well. So if we're losing him at the heart of that defence, and it's a defence that has just got so many problems as it is, we're coached by a striker as it is, so that might explain why the defence has been the way it is, but that needs to be sorted as the main priority, because Inter, if you look at what they offered in this game today, it's absolutely crazy that they're coming away having scored 3 goals. When you look at the chances they created and the amount of time they spent threatening us, for them to score 3 goals is unforgivable.
Yes, I agree. There are a lot of people saying that it was never Strakosha's fault. Guys, check the images. The ball is easy there. Strakosha should be going out there and grab it. Instead, he doesn't. And so the defender kicks it away, and Inter recovers the ball, and then De Vrij makes a penalty. Strakosha had all the time of the world to come out, grab the ball with the hands, and keep it there and lose time. Instead, Lazio didn't keep the ball, and Inter had a penalty. Just facts. You know how much I love Strakosha, but it was a terrible mistake from him, and it cost us massively. And about the De Vrij there, I thought that he had only he didn't have many options, Or he brings him down, or Icardi scores. That's it. And after that, then immediately the red card and the action afterwards, the chance afterwards, Inter score. Again, Lazio had so many corner kicks, and we missed Luis Alberto massively there because all our corners were awful. But yeah.
I think that is a big. It's a big part of Alberto's influence, which perhaps has been overlooked a little bit, is quite how good he is at set pieces, how much of a route to goal that's been for us, actually. It's not a coincidence that we're the team with the most goal-scoring defenders in Europe. It's because of those set-piece deliveries from Alberto, who's able to find those big defenders and get their heads on the end of his crosses. And Anderson's delivery isn't as good. Nani's was, in the UK here, the commentary on this game tonight, they were really critical of Inzaghi, and it was really frustrating me because I don't think it made too much sense, the criticisms they made, which was bringing off Immobile and bringing off Radu, because both of those players are recovering from injury. Radu is clearly struggling, had to be replaced. He was going down with cramps. Immobile has just come back from 2 months out injured and has played 75 minutes. But I think the decision that can be criticised is bringing on Nani, because again, it's the same. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but it's the same thing. He's just throwing on Nani, hoping for the best, takes off De Vrij, back four. Team doesn't know how to play with a back four, doesn't know where Nani's supposed to fit into the team, doesn't know who the focal point of the attack is, and it's just it was ridiculous. There needs to be a plan B here. There doesn't seem to be any sort of we desperately need a goal plan, because we're so used to scoring goals with the way that we naturally play that when it gets to a desperate situation, this team isn't capable of doing it.
Yes, we have to talk about the substitution of Simone Inzaghi. I thought, again, even against Crotone, he completely got it wrong. And as I was saying before, I understand Immobile is not able to play all the match, but take him off and put Lukaku there is simply saying to Inter, okay, we are not attacking anymore. You have the ball all the time, which is completely wrong. Yes, we had the advantage, but how you conserve it is you keep the ball, and if you can, you attack to keep the ball far away from your goal. Instead, Lazio, without Immobile, was never able to keep the ball in the half of Inter. So I really don't understand the decision of bringing in Lukaku for Immobile. And then, I don't know, I think I'm probably wrong, that Inzaghi goes in panic mode when it's losing and throw people inside with no sense at all, because I was thinking that Caicedo should have come in. Instead, Nani came in, and again, Lazio was without a centre forward.
I can't wait for Nani to be gone, honestly.
In this case, I don't think it's only Nani's fault, Why did he play? You have no Immobile, you bring a central forward. So in that case, the only option is Caicedo. So I don't understand why Caicedo didn't come in, honestly.
So that's what I mean. I think that Nani is looked to as being the alternative, as an attacking option on that bench. And Inzaghi probably looks to him as being quite rightly, as being a more experienced and more talented player than Caicedo is. But tactically, he doesn't have a role in this team. He never has. Since the day he came through the door, Nani's not been able to fit into this team. So it really frustrates me when he gets on in important matches, because he's been tried time and time again and it's never worked. So I think the sooner he's gone, the better, because we need better options as alternatives in the system that we're used to playing in. We can't continue along this line of desperately throwing on all these attacking midfielders and wingers and hoping for somebody to get on the end of something, because it doesn't make sense. There's no tactical blueprint that's behind that. It's just completely it's just hopeful, all of it.
Yeah, I think you said a very valid point, which is probably the reason why Lazio didn't reach a Champions League spot. We don't have a plan B, and if Immobile, Luis Alberto, Felipe Anderson or Milinkovic-Savic doesn't win the match on their own, then Inzaghi doesn't have any option. Now, is it because we don't have any options on the bench, or simply because, as I said before, Inzaghi goes panic mode and simply, I don't know, make the wrong decision when he makes substitution?
Yeah. When it comes to Inzaghi, I think the most frustrating thing for me is that what I expect a lot of people will come away from and say is that he's still a young coach. This is his first senior job, and he's still going to be learning from various experiences he encounters. But in my mind, in this season, although we've actually improved, and don't get me wrong, there's been a lot to be happy about with the season we've just had. But from Inzaghi's perspective, I think he's actually become a bit less adaptable and a bit less flexible than he was last season. He was far more capable of shifting between formations, different ideas, and basically outsmarting opposition coaches last year than he is this year. It seems like there are far more games where there were examples of him doing that. And although we've come away from this season with some great results, beating Juventus twice, for example, there's still the matter of his inability to come up with the right answers when things go wrong against smaller teams. The Crotone game obviously being the most recent example, but there are a few more, and then tonight as well. So I think it's quite hard to know exactly where to judge Inzaghi's season, because on the one hand, we have improved in almost every regard in terms of our performance across competitions, but on the other hand, I've been a bit concerned by how much less flexible he's been.
Yes, this is something very strange, because I remember this summer when we started this podcast, we were talking about one of the greatest things of Inzaghi is that he's very flexible. He continuously change formation during the match without making substitution. No, he was switching from 3-4-1-2 to 4-3-3, etc. And we both agree that Lazio still have those type of players like Lulic that can play middle, on the wing, left back, and so on. And Lulic is just an example. Lazio has plenty of these players that allows you to change formation even without making substitution. But Inzaghi has become, less flexible, and this has become a weakness. We all think that, okay, less changes means that everybody knows better the movement they have to make, especially in defense. And this was working in the first part of the season, when Lazio defense looked much better. But in the second part, let's say from January on, this didn't help the defense. So we were both hoping for some changes that never happened. This is concerning. This is concerning because Lazio still has those type of player that allows you to change a team during the match, and Inzaghi never did it. I don't know. I really don't know what happened. He said that playing in Europe League, you don't have time to test it. But then you see Juventus and other teams that does it often, if not every single match. And I don't know. I remember when he was playing in the Primavera, he was very rigid, playing always the 4-3-3. But I thought last season was a sign that he was very flexible. Instead, he's not. So I don't know. I really don't understand why he's doing this.
Yeah, and actually, if one of the although one of the big faults in this squad that most people point to is the lack of depth, one real positive about the players we've got available to Inzaghi is their versatility, and the ability to have players who can play in a back three or a back four. Like we've got the ability to have players who can play either as a number 10 or as a winger. You've really got quite a lot of options within this squad. It's basically set up in order to be able to change formation and to be flexible in that way. So it does kind of feel like with the squad we've got this season, he's actually missing a trick by not doing that. I wouldn't go as far as saying a dereliction of duty, but it does come across that way that if he's got this opportunity to make the most out of the group of players he's got, I do feel like being more flexible tactically would be a way of making more of the players he has, because we've got guys who can play in so many different roles, and we've not seen enough of it. But I mean, it's too late now, but I just hope that next season, over the summer, we start to see a bit more of that, a bit more willingness to experiment and try a few new things.
And last year Inzaghi outplayed Spalletti in the derby, and we all said it, and everybody noticed that. Today it didn't happen. Lazio was playing better than Inter before the 2-2, but that wasn't because Inzaghi idea. It was simply that Lazio was a better team. And when things start going wrong, he's not able anymore to fix it, which is concerning. And yes, I think we all agree that Lazio doesn't have those many options on the bench, but you still can shift around all those players you have. And I thought, for example, today Murgia was very, very good. So and then we talked about Wallace last Sunday. Today Radu goes out and Bastos goes in. I was hoping to see Cáceres. He always plays on the left side. So when Radu goes out, I think the natural substitution is Cáceres. So I don't know if he's trying to, outperform the others with these strange substitutions. Because, in a match so important, I would go with the normal ones.
Yeah. I am a bit wary of being too critical of Inzaghi, because I do think he's done a phenomenal job in the 2 seasons he's had. And I do think he is genuinely taking this team to the next level, and he's putting the foundations in place to actually build the squad up and take it to the Champions League and to fighting for those top places in Italy. But yeah, at the same time, it's just because he's a popular figure and has done well, it's not worth completely overlooking the fact that there are areas needing improved. And yeah, I think tactically there's a lot that could go better, and defensively particularly there's an awful lot that needs improved.
Yeah, and I felt that in a key match like that you need leadership in the team, and I think this team is missing of leaders. I felt like the team was scared when it was missing a quarter of an hour. They simply was too scared to play, and that's simply not acceptable. And that's not Inzaghi's fault, obviously. And now we reach the Europe League, which it's sad because it has been a great season for Lazio. Let's not forget, Lazio beat Juventus in the Supercoppa Italiana final and had a great season. Deserved to go to Champions League. We know all about the terrible referee mistakes. But we still have to say that it's a very good season. But now we lose De Vrij. We don't know what's going to happen with Milinkovic-Savic after Lazio didn't reach the Champions League. And suddenly, there are a lot of question marks for the team, which after a so positive season is concerning, I think.
Yeah. The knock-on effects of this as well, it's hard to say what it'll be, but don't get me wrong, being in the Champions League for me was going to be a game changer. I was looking at that at half time and looking at that crowd, that full stadium, playing really good football, dominating Inter, Champions League on the line. I was thinking, this is really a sign of where this club should be going and could well be going. And a finish in a Champions League place could well be the pivotal moment that helps us move on to that stage. And now, another season in the Europa League, it's hard to tell what kind of impact that's going to have to us in terms of the transfer market, our ability to keep players like Milinkovic-Savic, our ability to attract better players to improve that quality of depth. It's a real hard one to take, I think, just because of what it would have meant.
Yeah. Yes, it would have been tough in the Champions League. This would have meant a lot of players to buy this summer, and I'm not sure Iglitari would have done it. But the signal that comes tonight, it could be even more concerning. Players like Milinkovic-Savic could say that this team is not able to do it. So, this is the question mark. Is Tare Lotito this summer have to show that they want to do it? And don't have to expect something extra for the team and the manager, because I think that if Lazio keep fighting for the Champions League till the last match, yes, there have been mistakes from Inzaghi and other players, but I think it's all credit to them because, this winter Lazio had only Cáceres coming, and after Nani failing and Caicedo, who didn't prove to be that incredible striker, I think Lazio and Inzaghi deserve other players. So, don't know. That's the biggest concerning part is what's happening this summer. By the way, Inzaghi still didn't talk while Mauro Icardi's talking, say that we always believed it. I thought Icardi was rubbish today. He scored on a penalty, but apart from that, he didn't do nothing. And he's talking. This is really, it's really funny.
Yeah, and a feature of the first game we had against them in December was that Icardi was really quiet that night as well. De Vrij basically marked him out of the game, and I thought De Vrij did the same thing again tonight. Icardi didn't, in open play, he wasn't a danger at all. We didn't notice him. Didn't even notice he was on the pitch, to be honest, most of the game. And for him to step up and take a penalty and then equal, he's gone and equaled Immobile with the Capo Calnieri as well, which is yet another disappointment. So it's a real shame. I think you've got a player like that. If you're able to shackle him, then given Inter's threat, I think you should be confident of stopping them from scoring, because Icardi is by far their most dangerous player. Candreva was anonymous tonight as well.
Yeah, not a surprise, to be honest.
So, honestly, in open play, they just didn't have anything going for them. It was a corner.
Yeah, but
and
Alistair, let's be honest.
2 corners, the penalty.
Yeah, let's be honest. Inter didn't play better than Lazio. They had those 5 minutes, and that's it. That's it. Strakosha didn't do nothing all the match long. While Handanovic made at least 2 miracles. Then we hit the post, and so on. So Lazio deserved to win this match, and instead lost it. And this is so typical and annoying. And again, that's what I don't want, because that in a single match everything can happen, and often happens against our team. So that's what's the concerning part. And we should have won against Crotone. Napoli today destroyed Crotone, and we draw. We draw, and we were losing 2-1. So again, we had the chances to qualify before this match. We didn't do it, and I was sure that it was coming, to be honest with you. And it's so annoying because now we're losing the fry. We didn't know what's going to happen. I hope this end of the season have shown to Lotito and Tare that Lazio need much more players to compete for the Champions League. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I'm not sure Lazio is going to buy those players. Cristante should be coming, hopefully, if nothing changes. But, at this point, it could be really saying that Milinkovic could go. So.
Well, the slight worry I had about the Cristante thing was the comments from Tari before the game, where basically he was asked about it, and he seemed to say, well, the Milinkovic talk is just rumours, and he basically suggested that it won't happen unless Milinkovic goes, or that one was linked to the other, which I find a bit disappointing, because I think Cristante is the kind of player we should be bringing in to have alongside Milinkovic. I think having both of those kind of players in the team is what we really need to be looking for in order to improve the quality. I don't think it should be a case of 1-for-1 this summer. I think that the thing we've said over and over again is that the depth is the problem, and if we're looking at improving this squad, then it can't be as simple as if we're selling a player, we need to sign another player. I think signing guys like Cristante and of similar quality should be what we're aiming to do this season, regardless of who's going out.
Yeah, I totally agree. Adi on our Spreaker channel said the game was a summary of our season. It's very hard to be positive. There was a makeup of break moments. Milan and Inter will be up and running next year, and we will probably be in reconstruction mode next year. I'm so gutted. How can this same happen over and over again? Inter did nothing. How the hell did they score 3 against us? Yes, Adi, we are still asking the same thing. Inter had 3 shots on targets and pretty much score. And, the first goal, still I have to see. I'm not sure it's a goal. Then there is the penalty, and we said Strakosha made it wrong. And then on the third goal, it looks like Marzic forgets to mark Vecino. So, again, in a match, things can happen, and it's so disappointing. And the problem is, as you were saying, that this happened every single year. Every time Lazio is in a fight for something important, it ends up missing it. So it looks like Lotito and Tare never learned from the lessons. Don't know, Alistair, if you want to add something.
No, I mean, you've said it all pretty much. It's the only reason to believe that we're going forward here, I suppose, is the fact that we're putting our faith in a coach to actually bring his project from year to year, instead of changing coach and starting again after 2 years, which normally happens. So, yes, De Vrij's gone. Yes, there is a chance Milinkovic-Savic will go, depending on what kind of interest there is, what kind of offers there are, but there's no reason that should stop this team from developing and getting stronger. So it's it's worth bearing in mind as well, this is going to be such small consolation to any Lazio fans listening to this, but when it comes down to it, we have had a better season than Inter. We have finished the season as being the fourth best team. I know that in Serie A that's not the way it's ranked. It comes down to head, but when you look at goals scored and goal difference, we have been the better team than them this year. And it's a shame that Serie A is one of the very few leagues that ranks teams on head-to-head results, but that's the way it is. But to get 72 points, 21 wins, we've won more games than them as well, but sorry, I am feeling a bit bitter about this whole thing, but it's a really good result for Lazio to finish the season with as many wins, as many points, as many goals as we have, and it's a good selling point. Despite not being in the Champions League, it's hopefully a good selling point to guys we're trying to sign this summer, that we can say, look, we've made this step from one season to the next. And next season, we're going to make the next step, which will get us into Champions League, and that'll be a place to showcase yourself.
I hope so. I really hope so. In the meantime, Inzaghi still haven't speak, but there is Lulic, who said the season is still positive, even after the match of today. We had the chance to qualify for the Champions League before this match, but we weren't able to do it. We are very sorry. We are really deluded from the result of today. But our season is still positive. There have been too many talking about De Vrij, and I don't think it was necessary. I think he played really well today, and maybe he slided in the wrong occasion when he gave the penalty to Inter. But I think he was unlucky as well. Now we take all positive about the season and we prepare for the next one, hoping to reach the goal we didn't reach this season. He didn't say nothing about his red card.
He didn't say sorry for that.
No. Well, let's not bring it back. I already expressed my feeling about the referee, so you know where I want to go. But the thing that disturbs me is people celebrating Icardi, who didn't do nothing. Inter didn't deserve to win today. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's very similar to Salzburg match, the same blackout?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I said. I just sent out a tweet at full time saying that this was Salzburg Part 2. We had high hopes for that competition, and the parallels are obvious because, again, in that game, in the Salzburg game, second leg, we needed a draw would be fine and a win would be fine. Tonight, a draw or a win would be fine to get us through to what we needed next. And in both occasions, it's taken a matter of minutes for us to throw that away. In both occasions, it's not taken much from the opposition team to actually be able to beat us. It's been a case of self-destruction. And I don't know, it's not even something where you can point to inexperience or youthfulness in the squad and say that that's the issue, because there's a lot of experienced players throughout this team. It's just something that keeps happening. And for one reason or another, the concentration, the focus is an issue. And that's a difficult thing to turn around. I think what I would like to see the most, I suppose, is that if we're bringing in a new defender to replace De Vrij, which we clearly have to, that it's somebody with a real winning mentality, somebody who's played at the top of the game, who has great experience and great leadership qualities. I would really like to see someone who's going to be able to actually take control of this defence and take ownership of it and be able to stand up and make sure that the rest of those guys are switched on when it matters. Because although De Vrij's been a great player this season, I'm not sure he's always been that guy who's capable of making sure that everyone around him is 100% focused. It takes a kind of captain's role to do that. So I would like to see a real leader come into our defence, because I think we've been missing that.
Before, I found some quotes from Simone Inzaghi. Before talking about this, finishing your thoughts about De Vrij. And I'm not sure that going to Inter he will play as well as he played at Lazio if Inter doesn't switch to a three-man defense. I thought that is his perfect position because he have two central defenders that helps him. While we remember, especially the first season when he came at Lazio, with Lazio playing with a 4-4-2, he was struggling a lot on the defense. So probably Inzaghi make him look much better than he is. I still think he's a very good defender, but Inzaghi was hiding his weaknesses, so maybe this didn't help. Inzaghi spoke to Mediaset Premium and said probably we should have closed the Champions League qualification before. We had a great season, and today we had the match on our hand, and they scored with 3 free kicks. It was probably destiny that Lazio didn't reach the Champions League. We are very sorry, but this doesn't change the season of my players. We had an extraordinary season. It started with a Supercoppa, but this delusion will stay with me for a long, long time. Referee, I don't want to talk about the referee. We had so many chances to close the match tonight. Tonight we dominated, and Inter scored with 3 chances they had. We are the best attack. We didn't lose in the last 11 match, but this didn't allow us to reach the Champions League. The penalty of De Vrij, I didn't see the images. I would start De Vrij immediately tonight as well. Probably Strakosha would have to kick the ball better. So I think there's more players that make mistakes in that penalty. It wasn't only De Vrij. People enjoy watching Lazio. It was that since the last Scudetto that the stadium wasn't so full. Now it's normal that we are very sorry. Milinkovic, he made an incredible match, but apart from that, all the team played very well. I think we don't have the maturity. Do you say like that? To play this type of match. I think the team has to improve on that side. And this is a little bit, Alistair, what we were talking about, right? The team is not mature enough for this type of matches. And you can understand it if you play with Murgia, Strakosha. But then you have Lulic, you have Leiva. You have those type of players that should bring the experience to the team.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying before, is that it's not as simple as being able to say it's a young or inexperienced team, because you've got experience throughout the team. And yeah, Lulic, Immobile, even Anderson's been given the captain's armbands when Lulic has gone off. You've got Lucas Leiva in the middle of the pitch, enormous experience, De Vrij. So Radu's been around for a decade now at Lazio. So that's not necessarily the issue. I don't know what it is. It's just some collective problem where things just don't, they don't find the right answer. They don't know how to react to certain situations, and that's a really hard thing for Inzaghi to deal with and to turn around. I mean, how do you resolve an issue like that? It's not an easy thing to do. I think it just comes from being in these situations and coming out well from them, I would say. And the thing that annoys me is that a big thing for me at the start of the season, we were saying that, from the Supercoppa onwards, Lazio have always struggled in the last few years in the big games. Generally, when it comes to the big matches, Lazio haven't got the results they need. And if they go on good runs of form, it's relying on beating the smaller teams to do that. But this season, we managed to become the first team in almost 2 years, or over 2 years, to beat Juventus in Turin. We beat them again in the Supercoppa. We absolutely hammered Milan. So there's been a few really good results against big teams in Italy this year. And you would have thought that all of that happening before New Year would help this team actually go on and believe and have a better mentality in these big games. And that's what's confused me even more. There's a lot of confusing stuff about this season, and that's one of them, is that there's still a big mentality issue as to how to react to certain circumstances, despite the fact that they've come through big games and got results in them this year.
Yes, this is a valid point. We have to say that Lazio beat Juventus once, lost twice against Napoli, didn't beat Roma, didn't beat Inter, didn't beat once Milan and Atalanta. Of the top 7, Lazio won Atalanta, Milan, and that's it, On the top 4, and Juve, sorry. On the top 4, Lazio beat once Juventus and lost twice against Napoli. So, these are important matches, It's where you can decide your future. And not winning against the top team.
But my point is that when you spell it out like that, that doesn't sound great, but actually that is still an improvement on what we had before, which was normally a case of when you look at Lazio versus the top 4, it would be no wins whatsoever. So I think the fact we managed to beat Juventus, beat Milan, get a draw against Inter in one of the games, get a draw against Roma, the accumulated points from these games is better than it has been previously.
I'm not sure about that, but
No?
but it's I don't know. I think the only chance to improve now, to give an important signal, is to start a strong transfer market. Tomorrow Tare should be announcing a new player, a big player, maybe, if possible, Cristante or something else, to send a message that Lazio is still trying to achieve important target to reach the Champions League.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to make moves as quickly as we can in the transfer market this summer, not least because it's closing sooner, but also to make sure the players have as long as they can to integrate into the squad, and also, like you say, just to make a statement and to, wake everyone up to the fact that this is still a team with big ambition despite what's happened tonight.
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you. After the match of tonight, if someone comes with 30 million euro for Felipe Anderson, I'm taking the car and driving him wherever he wants. He's still a good player, but, in the key moment of the match, he disappeared. And this is not the first time that happens. And, in that role, you are a key member of the team. You can change the game. So, if someone comes with a lot of money, even not that much probably, I think it's time to say goodbye to Felipe Anderson.
Possibly, but again, if you look at the squad and you think that we want, basically, I think to have a strong squad, what you want is 2 really strong options in each position. At the moment, what we've got, once we get rid of Nani and send him packing, I'll drive him to the airport happily if he wants. But once we've got rid of him, we've basically got Felipe Anderson and Luis Alberto as the 2 options in that number 10 position behind the striker, and that's, I think, a really good couple of options to have, and a strong enough couple of options to keep us going very strongly across all the tournaments we have. So I think if Felipe Anderson's going to go, then fair enough, but at the same time I'd like to see him replaced with someone of similar quality, because it's not going to be enough to send him off and then just end up in a position where we're relying on Luis Alberto to be playing every game in every competition again.
Pedro Neto.
He's more of a striker than a number 10, though, isn't he?
I'm not sure. Diane on Spreaker, I guess Sergei and Felipe Anderson will be sold after this failure. I'm not sure. The good thing is, from this season, all the key players have at least contract till 2020, I believe. Luis Alberto, I think he just renewed it, so he's even longer, 22 maybe. So, Milinkovic-Savic, it's Lotito that can decide if to keep him or not. Same thing for Felipe Anderson. So we don't have the same issue with Keita or Biglia or De Vrij. So it's Lazio that has the final decision to make. But I was saying before, I think you need that final step, and as Alistair was saying, we need more option there. But I think we saw what you get from Felipe Anderson. And in the key matches, he never decides. He never, especially in the key moment of the match, he always disappeared. Now, today he scored, so, maybe it could not be the perfect example. But in the second half, I don't remember nothing from Felipe Anderson. While I remember things from Milinkovic Savic, I don't remember nothing from him. And, you're playing number 10. You are the key member of that team.
Yeah, I don't think tonight's the night to criticise Anderson, because I think he had a really good game tonight. I think he was one of our best players. His goal was superb, by the way. I mean, that was something we've not even mentioned yet because of everything else that happened, but that was a wonderful goal.
But it was a wonderful assist of Lulic, I thought.
Yeah, a brilliant assist from Lulic as well. And, not something he's necessarily known for is threading. When he went to make that pass, I thought, oh my God, no. But it's not often you see Lulic threading a perfect through ball, but he did. And it was just a really good counter-attack goal. And I thought Anderson's work rate was brilliant tonight. And when he got the captain's armband, he came. I know what you're saying about the second half. I don't think we saw as much from him in an attacking sense. But then there's still a moment after the penalty had gone in, I think it was, and he came back and he made a really important clearance, dangerous cross, and he put it out for a corner. And it's quite surprising to see he was the one who was back there. But I think his work rate was good. His attitude was good. He seemed really up for it tonight, and that's the Felipe Anderson we want to see, is the one we saw tonight. So, I think I don't want to be critical of him, because I think he was really good tonight, and I think it shows that he does still have the ability to be a key player for Lazio. But I think what he does want is just that faith that he is being relied upon as a key player. And he hasn't had that all season, really, because of the emergence of Alberto as such a brilliant option in that position. So perhaps he struggled a bit from the fact that he's not being relied upon as the number one, and although he's got the number 10 shirt, he hasn't actually been our number 10.
And he struggles sometimes when he comes from the bench. So that's another option, interesting, Sometimes you don't start, and sometimes it looks like he's not ready. He's not into the match till when it's too late. So I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm saying that, you should expect much more from a player like that. So if someone comes with good money, I would be happy to sell him. Of course, you need a replacement. That's obvious. But, I wouldn't cry if Lazio sold Felipe Anderson this summer.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it all depends on the price as well, though. I think it's not something you'd want to do without the price being right. But
yeah, of course.
I think that's something we talked about on Wednesday, though, is that it's quite hard to actually know what his price is in the market at the moment, because he's not as young as he once was, and he's not had the season that he once had. So it's quite hard to say exactly what his value is in the transfer market. But I think you're right. If somebody came in with around the 30 million mark, then you've got to be having a serious look at it.
Do you think someone's going to come? That's my question.
I doubt it. I mean, you generally get an idea of things by, the press are often a bit hit and miss in terms of transfer markets, but you usually get a rough idea of who's going to be going where from the rumours you're getting, and there haven't really been any rumours regarding Henderson. So I wouldn't expect it, to be honest. I'd be surprised if he wasn't here next season, because there doesn't seem to have been any interest in particular that's been going on up until now. So, I think I would be surprised if he wasn't still here next season, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And then there's not that much time this summer. And we didn't touch this, but I think Lotito and Tare has to think even about, players like Parolo that are not getting any, or Lulic, that are not getting any younger. And Lazio need to find replacement for them. And obviously, when I'm talking about replacing, I'm talking about quality player that can bring the same amount of quality in the team. So I think that's could be a very important point from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry to all our listeners because it has been a great season for Lazio. We finally beat Juventus in a final, which wasn't happening, for a long time. So, and we arrived fifth. Incredible season. Let's not forget that Gazzetta Sport put us in 11th place this last August. So, and said that Inter was fighting for the Scudetto, putting them third. So, second. Sorry. So it's a great season for Lazio, but finishing like that, it's annoying. It's annoying, and to talk now about all the positive things is tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, well, I think our next episode at least we'll be able to take a bit more of a calm look at the season as a whole, at least, and be able to hopefully reflect on the positives a bit more than we have tonight.
Yeah, maybe more time will help us analyze better the situation. Before we close, Adi is asking, 30 million is relatively cheap in this market for Felipe Henderson. We'll see. And about the progress of our new stadium, no news at all. I think Lotito didn't present any new project, so at the moment there's still nothing, which again it's annoying. Alistair, before we wrap it up, we have to thank Torgay Mayer, I hope I pronounce it well, a new Patreon. Remember, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge, and you can become a member for just $2 a month. If you like the show, well, maybe today not that much, but if in general you like the show and want to support us, you can become our members on Patreon. We really appreciate your help, even in a bad finish of season. We still hope we did a good job, and we're gonna follow you. We're gonna follow the summer transfer, hoping to talk about great signing about Lazio.
Hopefully, let's see. But I'm sure the season, the summer will be full of talking points for us, and we'll come back stronger for another one. But for now, obviously, it's a very disappointing night, and like we said before, we'll get round to a proper review of the season where we can be a bit more upbeat, hopefully, about everything that's happened.
Yeah, and remember, Lazio has a lot of money this summer to spend, even though they didn't qualify for the Champions League. So we expect to see some new signing for Lazio, some big new signing for Lazio, and we think that we have a lot of players that are leaving. Marchetti, Djordjevic contract will expire. I believe Nani will leave. So there are going to be a lot of talking points. So from the next episode, we're going to talk about that. Thank you, Alistair, for joining me. It was really tough tonight to talk about Lazio in general and the last match. So I really appreciate your help for, easing me a little bit the job. It was really, really difficult. Thanks, Alistair.
Group therapy.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and if you like the show, subscribe to our Patreon page. Bye, everybody, and always Forza Lazio.
Come on, you eagles, there's no time to fear. Up there's an angel watching us so